In this module, you would learn about the process of determination of factor prices in perfectly competitive markets and understand that the price of the variable factor is the value of marginal product, which is also known as VMP. You would also learn to analyze the process of determination of factor prices in markets which are not perfectly competitive in the final product market and comprehend that the factor price in the case is the factor's marginal revenue product, also known as MRP. You would also study the process of determination of factor prices under a monopsony setup and realize that the factor is paid a price lower than the MRP, leading to monopsonistic exploitation and deadweight loss to society. And finally, you would examine the process of determination of factor prices under a bilateral monopoly and understand that the final equilibrium in this case is indeterminate. Let us now introduce the subject to you and understand what is it all about. The factors of production are required as inputs to produce goods and services. The determination of factor prices is similar to determination of prices of goods or services and is also governed by the forces of demand and supply. However, the demand for factors of production is a derived demand depending on the demand of the final product or final goods and services and also the price of the factor input. The firm which is purchasing the factors of production could be a competitive price taker in the final product market, or alternatively it could be a non-competitive firm. Our analysis would begin by examining factor prices in a perfectly competitive market setup. Let us now introduce the subject to you and understand what is it all about. The factors of production are required as inputs to produce goods and services. The determination of factor prices is similar to determination of prices of goods or services and is also governed by the forces of demand and supply. However, the demand for factors of production is a derived demand depending on the demand of the final product or final goods and services and also the price of the factor input. The firm which is purchasing the factors of production could be a competitive price taker in the final product market, or alternatively it could be a non-competitive firm. Our analysis would begin by examining factor prices in a perfectly competitive market setup. Let us understand factor pricing under perfectly competitive goods and factor markets. In determination of factor demand and equilibrium of factor employment with one variable factor, we begin by making a few assumptions. We assume that a good X is produced and sold in a perfectly competitive market. The firm is a profit maximizer combining, for simplicity purposes, only two factors of production, labor denoted by L and capital denoted by K, to produce its output. Further, capital is assumed to be constant in the short run. Hence, its production function is given by X equal to function of L and K. K is fixed. The firm hence uses the single variable factor of production L, which is also assumed to be sold in a perfectly competitive market with several buyers and sellers. The supply curve of this variable of factor of production SL is therefore perfectly elastic at the ongoing price W. So, at a given price W, our supply curve is perfectly inelastic and is parallel to the x-axis on which we have measured labor. Since the firm is a price taker, it will sell all its output of good X at a fixed price Px. Therefore, the firm's revenue function is given by TR, total revenue, equal to Px into X, which is equal to Px into function f of L and K bar, where K bar is the fixed quantity of capital. This is our equation number 1. The total cost function of the firm is equal to the sum of the total variable and total fixed costs. That is, total cost TC is equal to W into L plus TFC. This is our second equation. W is the wage rate, L is the quantity of labor used by the firm. The firm, being a profit maximizer, would want to maximize profits. Therefore, profit pi is equal to TR minus TC, which is equal to Px into f function of L and K bar minus inverted commas WL plus TFC inverted commas closed, or bracket open and bracket closed. This is our equation number 3. Therefore, from our first order conditions, we get d pi by dl equal to Px into derivative of x upon derivative of L minus W equal to 0, which is our fourth equation. Now, dx by dl is nothing but the slope of the production function or the marginal product of labor, which is MPL. Hence, equation 4 gives us the equilibrium condition Px into dx upon dl equal to W, or VMPL is equal to W. That is our equation number 5. The VMPL is the value of marginal product of labor, or simply put, it is the value of the additional unit of output produced by hiring an additional unit of labor. This curve is the demand curve for labor and slopes downwards due to the assumption of diminishing returns to the variable factor, which is labor in this case. Therefore, according to equation 5, the profit maximizing competitive firm would continue to hire labor as long as the value of output produced by it is more than the addition to the cost of hiring it, i.e., the wage rate. Simply put, if the VMPL is greater than the ongoing wage rate W, the firm should hire more workers. If VMPL is less than W, the firm should retrench labor. The level of profit maximizing workers is given at the point where VMPL is equal to W. The following diagram also demonstrates this. The perfectly competitive firm would hire L units of labor at a wage rate like W. If the wage rate rises to W1, it would imply that the firm is no longer at equilibrium, that is at E, where VMPL is less than W1, and the firm would cut down on labor and move to point E1, hiring L1 units of labor. Similarly, a fall in the wage rate to W2 would imply an increase in the employment of labor to L2. Let us now try to understand the determination of factor demand and equilibrium factor employment with several variable factors. With several variable factors of production, the VMP curve no longer is the demand curve for the factor. This is because when several variable factors are being used simultaneously, the change in the price of one factor would lead to a change in the employment of not only the said factor but of the other variable factors as well. This in turn would shift the marginal product of the factor in question whose price originally changed. Consider the above figure 3. With the original price of labor W1, L1 units of labor are hired. This is determined from the point E1 where VMP L1 is equal to W1. with a fall in the wage rate to W2 if the VMP of labor were to remain constant at VMP L1, the employment of labor would increase to L12, given by the equilibrium point E12. However, the fall in the wage rate leads to a change in the employment of all the variable factors. For instance, with labor becoming cheaper, it makes sense for the profit maximizing firm to hire and club more capital in the form of machinery with cheaper labor. This in turn increases the marginal product of labor and shifts the VMP curve of labor. In the given figure, the VMP-L curve shifts from VMP-L1 to VMP-L2 and the labor employed increases to L2, which is greater than L1 and also greater than L12. Similarly, a further fall in the wage rate would shift the VMP curve of labor to VMP L3 and the labor employment would further increase to L3. Thus, the demand curve of a variable factor when several factors are variable is not its VMP, but in fact is the locus of points of the shifting VMP curves obtained due to the change in its marginal product. In the figure, this is the curve marked DL. Let us now in this section discuss about the factor pricing under imperfectly competitive markets. We will first talk about the determination of factor demand and equilibrium factor employment under a monopoly with a single variable factor. A firm being the sole seller of some product is a monopoly in the output market, but it may or may not necessarily be a monopoly in the input market, which is the labor market. In case it competes with several other firms in hiring the input, then it is a competitor in the factor market despite being a monopolist in the output market. The monopolist bases his decision about hiring the input depending on whether hiring of an input an additional unit of factor as long as it adds more to its revenue than its cost. The monopolist bases his decision about hiring the input depending on whether hiring of an additional unit of a factor as long as it adds more to its revenue than its cost. In the case of a perfectly competitive firm, its demand curve was based on its value of marginal product or VMP. The VMP is the value of the additional output reduced by hiring another unit of the factor input. The monopolist, unlike a perfectly competitive firm, faces a downward sloping demand curve in its output market. More units of the output can be sold by lowering the price. Thus, another unit of the output sold does not increase the revenue by the price in which in any case is no longer uniform under monopoly. Thus, another unit of the output sold does not increase the revenue by the price which in any case is no longer uniform under monopoly. The addition to revenue of selling another unit of output is the marginal revenue or MR. Hence, for a monopolist, the addition to the revenue of hiring another unit of the factor input is the marginal revenue product or MRP of the factor input. The MRP measures the contribution of hiring an additional unit of the factor input to the revenue of the firm. The MRP of the factor input is the product of the marginal product and the marginal revenue. Thus, for a monopolist, the MRP of the factor input is its demand curve for that input. Assume that a firm that is monopolist in the output market uses a single variable factor of production, let's say labor, which is sold in a competitive market. Thus, the demand curve for the product X of the firm would be downward sloping, and Px is equal to function of X, Fx, which is our equation 6, with F prime less than 0. The total revenue of the firm, that is TR, is equal to Px into X, which is our equation 7, and marginal revenue MR is equal to Px plus X into dPx upon dx. This is our equation 8. The marginal revenue product MRPL is equal to derivative of TR with respect to L, which is DL. This is equal to dTR upon dx into dx upon dL. This is equal to bracket Px plus X dPx upon dx, bracket closed, into dx upon dL. This is equation 9. Since labor is the only variable factor in the short run, the production function is given by X equal to F, a function of L, comma K bar, and MPL is equal to dx upon dL. Thus, from equation 9, MRPL is equal to MR into MPL. In the above figure, the VMPL is the demand curve of the factor input, that is labor under a perfectly competitive market structure. The MRPL is the demand curve of the factor input, labor under a monopoly. The MRPL curve lies below the VMPL curve because the marginal revenue for the monopolist is always below the price at each level of output. Thus, the MRPL curve slopes downwards because the marginal product of labor declines with greater employment of labor, and also because the marginal revenue itself declines, since higher output can only be sold at a lower price. The monopolist is a profit maximizer and thus would hire labor so as to maximize his profits pi. Pi is therefore equal to TR minus TC is equal to Px into X minus bracket W into L plus TFC, bracket closed. From our first order conditions, we again get d pi upon dl equal to Px plus X into dPx upon dx into dx upon dl minus W equal to 0. This is our equation 10, or MRPL is equal to W. This is our equation 11. Now, this is demonstrated by the following figure 5. In figure 5, the supply curve of labor is the horizontal line SL, as labor is assumed to be traded in a perfectly competitive market. The demand curve for labor of the monopolist is the MRPL, and the monopolist would hire LM units of labor at the ongoing wage rate of W. For wage rates higher than W, the monopolist would cut down on labor, since the addition to the costs of labor would be greater than the MRPL. Similarly, for wage rates lower than W, the monopolist would hire more labor, as the additional cost of soft labor would be smaller than the MRPL, where we learn about the determination of factor demand and equilibrium factor employment under monopoly with several variable factors. Just as in the case of perfect competition with several variable factors of production, the VMP curve is no longer the demand curve for the factor under monopoly 2 with several variable inputs. The MRP curve is no longer the demand curve for the factor. The reasoning and analysis is similar to the one under perfect competition. The demand curve of a variable factor under monopoly, when several factors are variable, is the locus of points of the shifting MRP curves obtained due to the change in its marginal product. Let's now look at monopolistic exploitation. When firms have monopoly power, the factor input is paid a price that equals its MRP, which is smaller than its VMP. More precisely, at equilibrium for the monopolistic firm, MRPL is equal to MR into MPL is equal to W. The equilibrium condition for the perfectly competitive firm is VMPL is equal to PX into MPL is equal to W. Under perfect competition, PX is equal to MRX. Hence, MRPL is equal to VMPL is equal to W. In the above figure, given the perfectly elastic supply curve of labor SL at the wage rate W, the perfectly competitive firm would hire LPC units of labor where W is equal to VMPL. The monopolistic firm, however, would employ LM units of labor where W is equal to MRPL. Hence, the employment of labor is lower under monopoly. Further, at LM, the VMPL is equal to W1 greater than W, which is equal to MRPL. This reflects monopolistic exploitation equal to EEM or WW1, as the price paid to the factor input under monopoly is smaller than the value of marginal product. This monopolistic exploitation is a loss to the society, as the value to consumers of additional output produced by hiring another labor unit is greater than the wage rate being paid to it by the monopolist. Understand the determination of factor demand and equilibrium factor employment for a monopsonist using one variable factor. A market in which there is a single buyer of the factor input is referred to as a monopsony. Monopsony may exist due to the highly specialized nature of the factor input or due to factors like geographical immobility of the factor input. A monopsony implies that the given firm is the only purchaser of the factor input. Being the only purchaser of the factor input, the monopsonist faces the market supply curve of the input, which is upward sloping. The monopsonist enjoys market power in the factor market, just like a monopolist enjoys market power in the goods market. The upward sloping supply curve of the factor input implies that the monopsonist would have to increase the factor price to hire more units of the given factor. Clearly, in this case, the marginal cost of hiring another unit of the factor would not be equal to the factor price, but the addition to the total cost of hiring all units of the factor at the new price. For instance, consider a firm that is the sole recruiter of a specialized kind of labor. Further, assume that the firm hires 15 units of labor at a wage rate of rupees 1,000. If the firm now wants to hire another worker, it would have to increase the wage rate to rupees 1,200. Thus, the cost of hiring the 16th worker would not simply be 1,200 rupees, but would in fact be 4,200 rupees, which is equal to 16 into 1,200 minus 15 into 1,000. Thus, there is a difference between the average expenditure, which is same as the same factor price being paid to all units of factor incurred by the monopsonist, and its marginal expenditure, which is the increase in the expenditure or expenses due to higher cost of hiring another unit of the factor. The latter curve is steeper compared to the former. In the present case, we assume that the firm is the single buyer of labor, its only variable factor, and uses this labor to produce a good X sold in a monopoly market. Since the firm is assumed to enjoy monopoly power in the output market, hence the demand curve for labor is the MRPL. The supply curve of labor, however, is not perfectly elastic, but is upward sloping, since the monopsonist would have to pay higher wages to hire more workers. Consider figure 7. The supply curve of labor SL is also the average expenditure, that is AE, curve of the monopolist, since it pays the same uniform wage to each unit of labor. The monopsonist, however, bases his decision to hire labor on marginal expenditure curve, which is ME curve. As shown in the figure, the ME curve lies above the SL or the AE curve. This is because when the wage is increased to hire more units of labor, all units of labor receive the higher wages. The monopsonist is a profit maximizer and thus would hire labor so as to maximize his profits pi. The total revenue TR, as in the previous case, is equal to Px into X. The total cost TC is equal to W, a function of L into L plus TFC. Earlier, since the wage rate was constant, the total cost of labor was WL, W into L. However, with the firm being a monopsonist in the labor market, it can hire more workers only by increasing the wage rate of all workers. Thus, the total expense, that is TE, on labor is equal to W, a function of L into L. The firm's profit function now is equal to pi, which is equal to TR minus TC, which is equal to Px into X minus W as a function of L into L plus TFC. This is our equation 12. From our first order conditions, we get d pi upon dl is equal to bracket Px plus X into dpx upon dx bracket closed into dx upon dl minus bracket W into bracket L plus dWL upon dl bracket closed equal to 0. This is our equation number 13. This implies that MRPL is equal to W as a function of L plus dWL upon dl equal to MEL, equation number 14. Hence, for monopsony, the equilibrium condition is MRPL is equal to MEL. This is demonstrated by figure. The monopsonist achieves his equilibrium at the point EMS, where the MEL is equal to MRPL. The monopsonist hires LMS units of labor at a wage rate equal to WMS, read from the SL curve, with LMS units of labor being hired. Determination of factor demand and equilibrium factor employment under monopsony with several variable factors. Under perfectly competitive factor markets, the cost minimizing combination of factor inputs is achieved where the slope of the isoquant is equal to the slope of the isocost line. In other words, the cost minimizing equilibrium occurs where MPL upon MPK is equal to PL upon PK. This is equation number 15. And MPL and MPK are the marginal products of labor and capital, and PL and PK are their prices respectively. As shown above, for the monopsonist, change in employment of factor inputs brings changes in the prices of the factors. Further, the monopsonist bases his hiring decisions on the marginal expenditure incurred on the factor inputs. Continuing with our example of the monopoly firm producing X, we may now assume that the production function is given by X is equal to function f of L and K, with both labor and capital being variable. The supply curves of the two factor inputs are given by PL is a function of L, phi L, and Pk is equal to beta into K. Profits pi is equal to TR minus TC, which is equal to Px into X minus PL into L minus Pk into K is equal to Px as a function of L and K minus PLL minus Pk into K. This is our equation 16. Profit maximization implies that d phi upon dl is equal to, within bracket, Px into dx upon dl plus x into dpx upon dx into dx upon dl bracket closed minus bracket PL plus L into dPL upon dl bracket closed equal to 0. This is our equation number 17. Similarly, d pi upon dk is equal to, within bracket, Px into dx upon dk plus x into derivative of Px upon dx into dx upon dk bracket closed minus, within brackets, Pk plus k into derivative of Pk upon dk bracket closed equal to 0. This is our equation 18th. On rearranging, we get Px plus x into dpx upon dx into dx upon dl equal to PL plus L into dPL upon dl, or it means MPL into MRX equal to MEL. This is our equation 19th. And Px plus x into dpx upon dx into dx upon dk is equal to, within brackets, Pk plus k into dpk upon dk, or mpk into mrx is equal to mek. This is our equation 20th. Thus, our equilibrium condition for the monopsonist hiring several variable factor inputs becomes MPL upon MPK is equal to MEL upon MEK. This is our 21st equation. Monopsonistic exploitation is discussed now, or in this particular section. The monopsonist pays a price to the factor which is not only smaller than its VMP, but this price is in fact also smaller than its MRP, giving rise to monopsonistic exploitation and an inefficient allocation of resources. Consider the following figure. The firm, being a monopsonist in the factor, which is labor market, and a monopolist in the product market, has its demand and supply curve of the labor given by the MRP labor and the upward sloping SL curve in the above figure. The monopsonist decides on the optimum amount of factor input to be employed by equating the ME of the factor input with its MRP. Hence, in this case, it would hire LMS units of labor. Further, the factor price is correspondingly determined from the supply curve of the factor input, implying that in this case LMS units of labor would be hired at a wage rate of WMS per unit. If both the factor and the product markets had been perfectly competitive, equilibrium would have occurred at EPC, with LPC units of labor being employed at a wage rate of WPC per unit. Even under monopoly, the MRPL would have been equated with the supply curve, SL curve of labor, and LM units of labor would have been hired at a wage rate of WM per unit. Thus, clearly, the monopsony leads to much lower wages and employment of labor. Monopsonistic exploitation is the difference between the wage paid under perfect competition and that paid under monopsony, which is WPC, WMS in the above figure. Out of this, WPC, WM is attributable to the monopoly power of the firm. Determination of factor demand and equilibrium factor employment under bilateral monopoly. Under a bilateral monopoly, we have a single seller of the factor input facing a single buyer of the same. Thus, we have a monopolist seller of the factor input facing a monopsonist buyer. In this case, there is no optimum equilibrium position, as both the monopolist and the monopsonist attempt to restrict the market allocation. There is a large difference between the price the monopoly is willing to sell at and the price the monopsony is willing to pay. We can only arrive at a broad interval within which the wage rate will be dependent on the relative bargaining strengths of the two. The curve marked MRPL is the demand curve of the monopsonist buyer. It is also the average revenue curve of the monopolist seller, ARMS. From this average revenue ARMS, we get the marginal revenue curve of the monopolist seller, MRMS. The SL curve is the supply curve of labor, and it is also the average expenditure curve of the monopsonist buyer. AEMB, this is also the marginal cost of the monopolist seller, MCMS. Corresponding to the AEMB, we also have the marginal expenditure curve, MEMB, of the monopsonist buyer. The profit maximizing equilibrium of the monopsonist buyer would be at EMB, where the MRPL is equal to the MEMB. Thus, the monopsonist buyer would like to hire LMB units of labor, and the wage rate it would be willing to pay is equal to WMB read from the supply curve of labor. The profit maximizing equilibrium of the monopolist seller would be at EMS, where the MRMS is equal to the MCMS. Thus, the monopolist seller would like to sell LMS units of labor, and the wage rate it would be willing to offer labor is at WMS read with ARMS. The final equilibrium arrived at is indeterminate depending on the relative bargaining strengths of the monopsonist buyer and the monopolist seller, but the wage rate would lie between WMS and WMB. So let us now summarize what we have learned in this module. We have learned that with perfectly competitive factor and output markets, price of the variable factor is its VMP, or value of marginal product. We have also learned that how under perfectly competitive factor and monopoly output market, the price of the variable factor is its marginal revenue product, or known as MRP. We have also seen that how the profit maximizing equilibrium of a monopsonist is where the marginal expenditure equals the MRP. And in the end, we would also say we have learned that under bilateral monopoly with a monopsonist buyer and a monopolist seller, the final equilibrium is indeterminate depending on the relative bargaining strengths of the two.